Hey everyone, you know how sometimes you find like this awesome resource and you're like, yes, this is it.
Mm.
That's how I felt about this piece from Cheapaba about autistic teenagers and like conversation skills. It's practical, insightful, and it's like actually stuff we can use. So
Yeah.
get ready to dive in with us because today
Sure.
we're going to turn those how-tos into how-we-dos.
I love it. And this is a big one
Yes.
because mastering conversations, it's like this whole secret level in life, especially for teenagers who are like figuring everything out.
It's so true. It's not just about like saying words to each other. It's about connecting and expressing yourself and
Right.
like navigating all those sometimes tricky social situations.
Yeah.
And for autistic teenagers who might experience those social cues a little differently, having those conversation skills can really, really be game changer.
Absolutely. One thing that really struck me from this Cheap ABA piece was it emphasizes how important good communication is.
Yeah.
It's not just about like acing that job interview later.
Right.
It's about feeling good about yourself now, feeling comfortable, and building those connections that are so important when you're a teenager.
Okay, so we get it. Conversation is key.
Yeah.
But where do we even begin? This article had this like really clear step-by-step guide,
Okay.
which I was like super helpful.
Yeah.
They break down literally every part of a conversation from like saying hello at the beginning to knowing when to like wrap things up at the end.
It's interesting you say that because I thought it was fascinating that they don't just say what to do.
Yeah,
They explain why it works.
I like that.
Like take, for example, that first step of approaching someone.
Okay.
They say to encourage teenagers to stand about an arm's length away,
Okay.
facing the person.
Yeah.
And I know that might sound obvious to some people.
At first I was like, really? We need to like spell this out.
Right. But here's the thing.
Okay.
For some autistic teenagers, understanding those like unspoken rules of personal space,
Yeah.
body language,
Right.
can be tricky.
Yeah.
So by clearly defining this approachable distance,
Okay.
we're not just giving them like a random rule.
Right. Right.
It's like we're giving them a starting point
Yeah. I love that.
that can really reduce anxiety.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Because instead of saying, just go talk to them, which can be so overwhelming, we're giving them something that they can actually do.
Right.
Okay, I can do this.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so they've like aced the approach.
Right.
Now what? They just launch into like their favorite video game.
Well, not quite. Cheap ABA really emphasizes the importance of timing.
Okay.
It's all about reading those social cues,
Right.
figuring out when's the right time to actually start talking.
The art of not interrupting, which I'll be honest,
Yeah.
I'm still working on. But seriously, that can be hard.
It is.
Even for those of us who don't have trouble with social cues.
Yeah.
So how do they say to navigate that?
Well, they talk about looking for those little green lights. That signal when it's okay to start talking.
Okay.
It could be like a pause in the conversation or someone making eye contact with you,
Okay.
showing that they're open to talking to you.
It's like finding that perfect opening in Tetris, you know?
Yes.
You don't want to force it. You got to wait for the right time.
Right.
But for someone who might miss those little cues, it's helpful to have those things to look for.
Exactly. And then once you have the timing down, you got to break the ice.
This is where I feel like those of us who love a good script,
Yeah.
we can really help out because knowing that you should talk to someone
Right.
doesn't mean you know what to say.
Right. And they actually give really good examples of what to say.
Okay.
Like really down to earth, you can practice these.
Yeah.
Like using a simple greeting.
Okay.
And I know that sounds
basic,
but sometimes we overthink things.
It's true.
A friendly hello,
Yeah.
or excuse me, can go a long way.
Totally. It's like sometimes you forget how much the little things matter.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, yeah.
And to make it even more personal, they say use their name.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hello, Morgan, instead of just hello.
Oh, that's good.
It shows that you're acknowledging them.
You're reminding me of that Dale Carnegie thing. Like remembering someone's name is like the most flattering thing you can do.
It is.
And I feel like that would really help a teenager feel more confident going into a conversation.
Yes, definitely. And finally, they say, have a few just general questions that you can kind of keep in your back pocket.
Okay.
Things like, how are you?
Yeah.
Or, it's nice to see you. And those might seem basic.
Right.
But but they're classic for a reason.
Totally. You got to have those like
Right.
tried and true go-to phrases.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've done approaching, timing, and initiating.
Right.
Those are our first three.
Yes.
What's next?
So then the cheap ADA piece talks about the importance of turn taking.
Ah, yes, the art of not monopolizing the conversation,
Right.
which something I'm sure we've all been guilty of at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
But in all seriousness, I
Yeah.
can see how this is really hard to like
It is.
master in the moment.
Yeah.
So what are their tips for making it a two-way conversation?
This is where active listening comes in. And I don't just mean like passively waiting for your turn to talk.
Right.
It's about showing genuine interest
Okay.
in what the other person is saying.
Okay.
And you can do that verbally and non-verbally.
So give me some like examples of what that would look like.
Okay, so instead of just staring blankly at them,
Yeah.
you can nod your head,
Right.
make eye contact,
Yeah.
use verbal cues,
Okay.
like, that's interesting, or tell me more,
like that.
tell me more, or ask clarifying questions.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Exactly.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, exactly.
That shows that you're really trying to understand.
It does. And if the conversation
Yeah.
starts to kind of slow down or whatever, they suggest prompting your teen to ask questions to kind of keep it going.
Oh, that's good.
So it's taking that awkward silence
Yeah.
and making it an opportunity
I love that.
to delve deeper.
Yes.
Instead of like, what do I say next? It's like, ooh, I want to know more about what you think.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered approaching, timing, initiating, and turn taking.
Right.
But what about the actual content of the conversation?
Yes. So this is where
Like, how do you help a teen pick a topic?
right, this is where that
That's important.
pre-conversation prep can be really helpful.
Okay.
So they suggest brainstorming a few topics beforehand
Okay.
of mutual interest.
Okay.
So this could be anything from like favorite TV shows, movies, hobbies.
So it's like a little cheat sheet
exactly.
of conversation starters.
Yes, and it's not about memorizing a script or anything.
Right.
It's just about having a few go-to things that
Yeah.
you feel comfortable talking about.
Right.
And they also say you have to be mindful of others.
Yes.
Choose topics that are appropriate for this situation.
It's all about reading the room. Right,
That's-
like you're not going to go on about your favorite anime series at a funeral.
Probably not.
Oh, you know what I mean.
No, I totally get it. It's
Yeah.
being sensitive to the other person's cues.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
And if you're unsure, err on the side of caution.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
But even with the best intentions,
Right.
sometimes it just goes sideways.
Of course.
So what happens when there's misunderstandings?
This is where apologies come in.
Okay.
The article emphasizes that it's okay to make mistakes.
Of course, we're all human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The important thing is to acknowledge it when you do,
Yeah.
and then try to make things right.
And that can be so hard.
It is.
Like to admit when you're wrong.
It is.
Which, I mean, that's a good life skill in general. It's true. Like, you should apologize. But
Right.
sometimes it's so hard.
It is. Apologizing can be tough for anyone.
Yeah.
Especially teenagers, right?
Right.
They're still trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And they're sensitive when they feel like they've messed up.
Yeah.
And I like how they don't just say, like,
Right.
apologize and move on.
Yeah.
They tell you how to do it.
Yes. That's so important.
Yeah.
So what's the secret? How do you apologize the right way?
Well, the first thing they say is to be sincere.
Okay.
Like, don't just mumble sorry and walk away.
Yeah.
You got to look at,
Right.
make eye contact,
Yeah.
really acknowledge what they're feeling,
Right.
and let them know that you feel bad about it.
So you understand why what you said might have been hurtful.
Exactly.
Okay.
And speaking of understanding,
Yeah.
the article also says if
Yeah.
you're not sure how they feel, or if you think maybe you misunderstood them,
Yeah.
ask for clarification.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to just like jump to conclusions.
Right.
But if you can just take a second and be like, wait, hold on, I think I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Can you clarify? Like that can stop so many problems before they even happen.
So true. It also shows them that you really care
Yes.
about what they think,
Right. Exactly.
which can really, really help build that relationship.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered approaching, timing, initiating, turn-taking, topic choice, apologies, and asking for clarification.
Wow, that's a lot.
We've done so much. Is there anything else we need to remember?
Just one more thing.
Okay.
Cheap ABA reminds us that even the best conversations
Yeah.
have to end eventually.
Yeah, sadly.
They have a whole section on ending conversations politely.
You mean like not just like running away?
Well, I mean, you could do that,
Okay.
but it's better to give the teenagers some strategies for a smoother exit, you know?
Okay, I like that.
So the article says to look for the cues that the conversation is ending.
Okay.
Like if they keep checking their phone
Yeah.
or like edging toward the door.
Right. They're trying to make a break for it.
Yeah. Exactly. Or maybe they just said something
Yeah.
like, oh, I have to be somewhere.
Right.
Or it could just be that the conversation is naturally winding down.
Right.
The point is, you got to be aware of it.
Yeah, read the room, right.
Exactly.
Don't be afraid to be like, well, hey, this was great talking to you.
Exactly.
But I gotta run.
It was so nice talking to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm gonna head out.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. That way everyone feels good, and then they'll want to talk to you again.
Exactly. That's the goal.
Right, which is what we want.
That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered every single part of a conversation from hello
We did it.
to goodbye.
I get it.
But knowing the steps is only half the battle, right?
Right.
How do we actually support these teens and make sure that they can use this?
Well, they really emphasize starting small.
Okay.
You can't go from 0 to 60 overnight.
That's true.
You got to break it down.
Yeah, little steps.
Exactly, and celebrate those little wins.
Yes. I love that.
It's about building their confidence
Yeah.
so they don't feel like they have to be perfect right away.
Yes, I love that.
And you know what can help with that? Visual aids.
Oh, I love a good visual.
Right.
Tell me more.
So they talk about making prompt cards
Okay.
or visual cues that they can actually use during a conversation.
Okay.
So it could be something as simple as a card with conversation starters written on it,
Okay.
or like a visual reminder about how much personal space.
I'm picturing like a little laminated card that says make eye contact.
Yes.
And they just pull it out
Exactly.
subtly.
And you can get creative with it too.
Yeah.
They also mention social stories.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about social stories.
So social stories it's like a little story that shows how to act in social situations.
Okay. I like that.
And that can be really helpful
Yeah.
for figuring out all those unspoken rules.
Yeah. And just to jump in for a second for our listeners who haven't heard of social stories.
Yes.
They're amazing. You can like break down a situation
Yeah.
into these like manageable chunks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they have like a visual roadmap of how to handle it.
And it's all about practice, right?
Yes. Practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly.
That's what they say.
And TPBA knows this because they have a whole section on role playing.
Oh, yes, role playing, which I'll admit can be a little awkward.
It can.
But there's no denying it helps
It really does.
to build that confidence and that fluency.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like they say, the
Yeah.
more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in battle.
I love that. And it doesn't always have to be super serious. Like,
Right.
you can have fun with it.
Yes, exactly.
You can laugh about it.
Right.
I mean, if I had to role play all of the awkward social situations that I've lived through,
Right.
would be horrifying. But if you can keep it lighthearted,
Yes.
then it makes it a lot easier.
It does. It takes the pressure off.
Right,
Anyway.
exactly. Okay, ready for one more techie tip?
Yes. Hit me with it.
Ex-
So this one might sound a little different,
Okay,
but they talk about recording
okay,
and reviewing conversations.
okay,
And obviously, this isn't for everyone,
right.
and you have to get consent if you're recording anyone.
Of course, always.
But it can be really helpful
Yeah.
because you can see
I can see that. It's like
Yeah.
athletes watching those game tapes.
exactly.
You know, like,
They-
where did I mess up? Where did I do well?
Right. So they can watch the recording
Okay.
and see what they did well
Yeah.
and then what they can work on.
But the key here is to be kind to yourself.
Oh, absolutely. This is
Well,
not
it's about,
about criticizing yourself.
Yeah.
It's about learning and growing.
right. What did I do well? And what could I try differently next time?
Exactly. And sometimes when you see yourself,
Yeah.
you notice things you wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that with my hands or whatever it is.
Right. Your tone of voice, your body language,
Right, exactly.
all those little things.
Okay, so before we wrap up today, I want to touch on something really quick that the article mentioned
Okay.
that I think is so important, especially for, those of us who are supporting autistic teens,
Yeah.
which is getting support.
Yes. So important.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
This is not a solo mission.
Cheapaba really stresses that they're like, connect with other families
Yeah.
who get it.
Yes.
It's about building that village.
Yes. It takes a village.
Exactly.
Okay, so what kind of support are they talking about?
Well, they mention online forums,
Oh, cool.
which can be great
Yeah.
for connecting with other people,
Right.
sharing tips, all of
Oh,
that.
totally.
Local organizations and support groups.
Yes.
That's another good one.
Just knowing that you're not alone, I feel like, is the biggest takeaway.
It is huge.
Because everyone's journey is unique,
It is.
but just that feeling of, like, solidarity.
Solidarity.
Yes.
I love that word.
That we're all in this together.
We are.
Yeah.
We've got this.
Okay, so, listeners.
Yes.
We've reached the end of another deep dive.
I had so much fun.
This was awesome.
Yes.
We explored how to support autistic teenagers
Yes.
as they're learning these conversation skills.
Important stuff.
We talked about strategies, tips. We even touched on how to find more support.
Yes. And remember,
Yes.
this was just a taste
A little taste.
of all the amazing info in that cheap ABA piece.
Go read the whole thing.
Yeah, go check it out. We'll have the link in the show notes.
Yes, and as always,
Yes.
we want to leave you with a little something to think about.
Yes.
So, what is one small thing
Ooh, good question.
that you heard today
Yeah.
that really resonated with you?
Yes.
And how can you start using it in your life or in the life of an autistic teen that you love?
Yes, every little step counts.
Yes.
So keep going. You've got this.
Keep believing in yourself. Keep encouraging them.
Yes.
Keep those conversations flowing.
Yes.
Until next time, happy learning and happy chatting.
Bye, everyone.